Hello, softball captain. Welcome to your training video. So this training is designed to give you kind of an overview of all of the softball rules that you're going to need to help your team win that championship and kind of avoid the things that all teams just should not get themselves into. So let's jump right into it. So team requirements. Every team can have up to 11 players except for the co-rec who can have 12. And you need actually a minimum of 8 to start the game. You cannot start with less than 8. And if you don't have those 8 to begin with, including the 4 in the outfield, you have to forfeit. That doesn't mean you have to have 4 in the outfield, but you have to have at least 8, and 4 can be in the outfield. So keep that in mind. So for equipment, softballs and bases will be provided by us, the program. Bats and gloves are also provided by the rec staff before the game. The gloves will be numbered 1 through, say 12, and the team captains are responsible for getting those back into the bins after each game, just to ensure that no one takes them afterwards. Athletic shoes have to be worn by all players, which can include rubber cleats, but metal cleats and spikes of any kind are not allowed, just because when you're sliding, people can get really messed up from that if we're not being safe about it. All jewelry must be taken off before the game starts. This includes bracelets and necklaces and rings, or anything else that someone might be having on their body. Bats will be provided by us, and no outside bats, unfortunately, are permitted. And if they are used, that player that's using it will be ejected. Knee braces that are made of hard materials, like a hard plastic with metal, have to have at least a ½ inch of slow recovery rubber wrapped around them, also just to ensure that no one gets hurt from them. For substitutions, free substitution is not allowed, so that's changing a player at any time into any spot. A substitute can replace a starting player only one time and must take their spot in the batting lineup. The starter can then come back into the game afterwards, but they have to resume the same exact place in the lineup that they were previously. Any base runner can be replaced by a courtesy runner who made the last batted out of the same gender. Excuse me, that's going to be happening a lot, so I apologize. Injured players in the field use standard substitution rules as well. Automatic outs are given to players who are ejected from at-bats, or if a person is unable to bat and no sub is available for their spot. Ejected batters cannot be replaced for that at-bat. The length of the game is an hour long, so only a maximum of 7 innings can be played within that time slot. New innings cannot be started after the 50-minute mark. However, all innings that are started before the 50-minute mark have to be completed for that inning to be considered official and for the game to be official. And that an inning is considered started once the third out of the previous inning has been made. Tied games will end in a tie, so no overtime will ever happen unless it's a championship game. Players have to warm up before their designated time slot. No extra time is allowed just because there's going to be other games following, or the people need to wrap up and everyone needs to head home because we do value school first here. If a 12-run difference occurs, the contest is considered a mercy game. So the mercy rule says that you have to stop and it's considered complete. So this takes place if four innings have been played or 3.5 innings with the home team winning. Additionally, games are considered complete after 4 innings if something comes up, like a lightning storm. So say you're in the middle of the 6th inning, a lightning storm happens, the score would just revert back to the 5th inning, which was completed. There is no time limit in championship games, but the mercy rule still applies there. So at an umpire's discretion, a player may be warned, called out, or ejected from a game if a bat is thrown or swung in a dangerous manner. After such a call, all players return to their original bases, and players who threw their bat in a malicious manner are ejected and cannot be replaced at that game. If a team has any 2 players, coaches, or spectators ejected from a game, the game is immediately defaulted, so captains have to be really aware of that as well. Teams responsible must retrieve all foul and home run balls. The dugout must be cleaned and left immediately after a game is over, and during the game, all equipment must stay inside the dugout, so nothing can be leaning up against the fence when people are batting. So for running, stealing is not allowed in intramural softball. It's just too easy because the pitching is so slow, and for some other reasons too. Players can only run when the ball is hit, and players will be called out if they leave before the ball is hit. Base distance is 65 feet. Balls thrown into a dugout or over a fence are awarded 2 bases based on the runner's current position. If 2 runners are in between the same bases, the award is based on the lead runner's position. Runners who collide with a fielder are an automatic out, and each player will return to the last base occupied. If the collision was a deliberate action, the runner will be ejected. If a batted ball hits a runner and the ball hasn't been touched by a defensive player, the runner is out. The play is dead, and the batter is awarded first base. Sliding is not required in softball, but a runner cannot collide with a fielder making a play when coming into a base. Happens actually quite often. Collisions may result in immediate ejection just depending on the severity of it and if it seemed intentional or not. In the case of a double play, a runner has to either slide or get out of the way, or both, and the batter base runner may be called out if this does not happen. I really apologize. I'm suffering from a cold here. Have sympathy with me here. Defensive players, on the other hand, cannot obstruct the path of a runner unless they are making a play. If this happens, the umpire will award all runners the bases that he or she thinks they would have had it not happened. The base runner must use the red bag, and the first baseman must use the white bag during a close play. So the red bag is on the outside of the field, the white bag is on the inside, and it's always encouraged that players use these respective bases at all times just to avoid collisions. It happens too often where people try to both use the white bag and something happens. And lastly, fake tags are illegal and will result in the ejection from the game. For batting, batters start with the count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Chopping, so swinging the bat kind of up and to down, kind of like an axe, and bunting are not allowed. And batters must take full swings. Those who do not will be called for an automatic out, and runners will return to the original bases they were standing on. Foul balls on the second batted strikes are outs. So remember, you start with that 1 strike. So if you get the second strike and then you foul for the third strike for the third hit, that's considered a strike and you're out. Runners can still tag and run if a ball is caught in foul territory, though. Extra hitters can be used in the lineup as the 11th or 12th in the co-ed. They can also act as substitutes, but they must remain in the same last hitting spot, and they cannot be added to the game or taken away after it is started. Only the coach, on-deck batter, and base coach can be outside the dugout during a team's at-bats. So just keep that in mind. So for pitching, prior to the pitch, the pitcher has to come to a full stop with both feet firmly planted on the ground and the ball in front of them for at least 1 full second. Just remember, this is slow pitch softball, and there are different levels of players, and it just sets the game easier for most people, and it's just easier for everyone. The rear foot needs to stay on the ground during a pitch until the ball leaves the pitcher's hand. And a legal pitch is an underarm pitch, commonly referred to in this, again, as a slow pitch. It must also arc at least 6 feet from the ground and not reach more than a 12-feet arc during the highest point of the throw. Batters have the option of swinging at illegal pitches or just taking them as balls. So the infield fly rule, which does not include a line drive, is when the ball is hit really high in the infield, and it can be caught by an infielder with ordinary effort, considering that there are runners on the first and second, or first, second, and third with less than 2 outs. The umpire will declare the infield fly rule, and the batter is immediately out. Base runners cannot be forced out and may advance at their own risk. A lot of people don't know why there is an infield fly rule, but essentially it's because the play would just be unfair if the runner was running from where they hit it to first base, and the people on the bases really had nowhere to go because they would have to either tag up or wait for the person to drop it. So it just formed as a rule. So to appeal a play, their appeal plays. Appeal plays are plays that cannot be made by an umpire until requested by a coach or a player. It must be made before the next pitch or before the defensive team leaves the field from their fair territory. There are 3 types of appeals. So if a player who is running misses a base, you can appeal that. Leaving a base on a caught fly ball before the ball is first touched, or batting out of order. Any of these have to be appealed by the players or coaches. Once a dead ball has been called, any infielder can make a verbal appeal on a runner missing a base or leaving a base too soon. The base umpire should always acknowledge the appeal, and the administrating umpire should make a decision on the play at that point. So important rule clarification. The most important one that we can think of is, and there are a couple others that are a little more less common, but the biggest one is if someone misses a base as they're running, only the players can appeal that. So the infielders have to appeal that to the umpire. For co-rec slow pitch softball, teams can be made up of the following 5 combinations. So 5 men, 5 women, so equal. 5 men, 4 women, so 1 less woman. 4 men and 5 women. 4 men and 4 women. 6 men and 5 women. 5 men and 6 women, or 6 men and 6 women. So there can never be more than a 2-person difference for any team. Just keep that in mind. And you have to have at least 8 players, up to 11 or 12 players for co-rec. The batting order must alternate gender. So men and women courtesy runners must replace men and women, respectively. An extra hitter is allowed in co-rec slow pitch softball. The extra hitter can either be a male or female. The extra hitter may only be used if the team has 5 males and 5 females in the field, and a male or female may replace either of the genders in that position. If 2 extra hitters are used, one must be male and one must be female. If a male batter walks and is followed by a female batter, he automatically advances to second base. The following female batter must hit unless there are 2 outs, and then she has the option to take first or to hit. This is to ensure that pitchers don't intentionally walk male batters and then only pitch to the female batters. It just keeps people honest and keeps their incentive for pitching fair strikes and all that. So there are some game cancellations due to weather. So they can be canceled at any point due to bad weather. A game is considered complete if 3.5 of the innings have been completed for the home team winning, or 4 innings for the away team winning. Games that are canceled after these 2 scenarios will resort back to the last full inning played. Canceled games will be recorded as no result. And finally, playoff games that are canceled before enough innings are played will have to be rescheduled, but they will be rescheduled. And that's it.